What's up, guys? Hello. Um, Happy week one of the college football season. No disrespect to last week's week zero, but week one is really where it's at. But anyway, in the spirit of week one college football season, I'm gonna bring back my guys, my favorite guys in the ACC, all sports discussion, sports ball. My guys Jeffrey Fan and Matthew Warner going to talk some ACC, preview the season, and ask them how much fish I had having my beloved North Carolina State Wolfpack because I have a feeling they're gonna let me down once again. But anyway, hope I'm wrong. Hope you enjoy the rest of the podcast. But please do like, comment, share, and subscribe. So until then, welcome to tonight's ACC preview edition of the Klown Podcast. I'm Scott Burks. I'll explain it, but check me out on www.theclowntimes.net. You see on the hat there. That's Clown spelled with K, obviously. And you can find me on Facebook as well. So you're on your smartphone, laptop, desktop, wherever you are, wherever you may be. Just type in the Klown Times. You'll find me there as well. And two more things. Speaking of the hat, get the merch at cafepress.com, social the Klown Times Sports. The actual link will be in the description on YouTube once it gets uploaded. And last but not least, please continue to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I picked up a few more subscribers, trying to get to 1,000 by year's end. I'm over 500 now. So just please continue to like, comment, share, subscribe. Even if you don't like what I said, please just comment. Anyway, just talk your junk. I'll talk my junk back. I'm petty like that. But anyway, just please do that. You'll be great as well. So I mentioned the ACC podcast. You see my two guys back. You guys know him from All Sports Discussion, ACC Sports Blog. It's my man, Jeff Fan, to my left, and Matthew Warner, aka Hokie Smash Delois. So, gentlemen, how y'all doing?
Hey, doing good. Glad to be here.
Right on.
Great.
Right on.
Glad to be here tonight.
Cool. So basically, as y'all can tell out there, the three of us are a little bit distracted because there's West Virginia pick going on right now. You're gonna catch me like glance to the side like this at my phone watching it. The gentleman watching it as well, but we're going to get to that later, but I want to start off with, I know you guys talked to on y'all's podcast this past Sunday with another guy who I follow, that's Matt Zimick, fellow sports writer, sports blogger as well, about the state of the ACC in terms of the ACC network, what could be done. And one thing that he mentioned was that the ACC network, how could it be more profitable, right? Because he talked about what ailed the Pac-12 network, what the former commissioner Larry Scott didn't do, and what we're in danger of doing as well to the ACC network as far as not investing in it as far as more football product instead of like focusing on the Olympic sports, which is fine. We love the Olympic sports. With the college is great Olympic sports, but football pays the bills, if y'all know. But he suggested, Matt, that that basically they should like the AC should like have an untraditional time slots, like a breakfast edition, if you will. I guess like 10 o'clock a.m. games to not compete with the Big Ten and the SEC, the big baddies, right on the block, and make some type of partnership with the Pac-12 to have like a ACC/Pac-12 at the dark, where they could show on the networks like have the like a Pac-12 team come to the East Coast for like a 7 or 8 o'clock game, have ACC go west, have them have, even though they'll be on the road at the Pac-12 team, have that be shown on the ACC network as well, just for the exposure. I like the thinking outside the box by Matt, but how feasible is that really is, and will that really help the ACC network's bottom line?
I mean, okay, so Jeff probably can give you a much better answer than me. But my personal opinion is that if you're going to be taking this away from like the regional sports networks, which I seem to be the only one in the country to be able to watch because I didn't ditch Comcast, right? That, you know, if you're getting this on the ACC network, you're probably getting it to a wider audience. There were a lot of my friends, right, in the Hokie Nation, right, and I would say ACC Nation, really, they have ditched cable and they've gone to streaming services and things like that. But because Comcast didn't have the ACC network when they first started out but with having these games on the regional sports networks, that kind of obviously didn't really help them very much, except for, I mean, I poke fun at myself, except for me, who didn't ditch Comcast and waited it out till the ACC network came on here.
Right.
And so I think it can be realistic from that perspective because of the fact that the ACC network is much more visible now that it's on Comcast. And it's something that can work if you ditch this regional network thing. Now, Jeff is, like I said, Jeff's talked about that a lot, but that would be my take on that. I don't think that you necessarily should give up the big slots like being on, ESPN proper, or being on that, being on a non-conference game on NBC when you're playing Notre Dame. But I think, it'd be good for Jeff to give his take over here.
Yeah. All right. So, Jeff, please enlighten us, because I know you're closer to it as well. But how feasible is this? Is it would it help the ACC's bottom line in your estimation?
Yeah, I mean, I think what it comes down to is that they definitely got to think outside the box, but
Right.
it all depends on ESPN. If they see value in a 10 o'clock game, they should do it. If they see value in a game starting at 9 p.m., the ACC should do it. And that's what's been said over the last several weeks. All options are on the table. My opinion is I don't know if ESPN would see that much value in it. Maybe for both, maybe for one, a couple late starting times, or maybe one game a week, starting at 10:30. Yeah, it all depends on ESPN. That's why it's tough to say, how much merit is in it, because you just don't know how ESPN would value that. But I think anything and everything should be on the table. Like, hey, if we start games at 10:30, would it help our bottom line? Yes or no, ESPN. If we start games at 9 p.m., will it help? Yes or no?
Check box.
Right. Check the box. Should we align with the Pac-12 on something? Yes or no? Just have it all there. Any ways to try to increase revenue. As far as those regional sports networks, I mean, there was a couple things in print that are actually pretty good for the ACC. The ACC has been paying for those, paying back those rights that Raycom had, and that comes off the books for ACC teams in
That's huge.
2026 or 27. And I think it was the News and Observer said that would be $3 million per ACC team that goes back in their pockets. So the rights go back to the ACC. So not only does the payments come off the books, but they also have the chance to monetize that. Either ESPN uses them, or they can sell them themselves. Who knows? I mean, I don't think it's going to be the singular thing that catches up with the SEC and Big Ten, but I mean, we could be talking of like $5 or $6 million swing there. Plus, like Matthew mentioned, Comcast gained full distribution in December of last year. That's not figured in. I mean, that's another $4 to $6 million estimated. So I mean, just right there, without even restructuring anything, those projections are, you can add about 10 million already in like about 4 years, and then you keep working on all these other out of the box options, whatever else is out there. I think what is probably more likely than a 10 o'clock game is adding a ninth conference game. And there was a really interesting podcast interview by the number 2 guy at ESPN last week, and I mean, this was what he said was better than like 200 different Twitter accounts with their sources. He said, quote, ESPN has every incentive to work with the ACC on making it financially stable. I don't think you can get any clearer than that. But, ESPN is going to look at all these different options. And he mentioned creating more content with like possibly an extra conference game, more basketball conference games. I think it's more likely that something like that happens versus like a breakfast game. But who knows? Who knows? And I think, you know, we have to wait to see what these numbers come out. But, you know, the number 2 guy at ESPN saying that, you know, doesn't sound like ESPN's going to try to orchestrate the demise of the ACC anytime soon.
That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, because it's all about properties. You mentioned it, properties. Okay. Why would, and plus, you know, it's properties and also like content. So why would ESPN sabotage one of its own properties that they have at a huge discount? I mean, that's probably bad negotiating by, you know, John Swafford, the previous commissioner, but to get the ACC Network, you got to take and give and take, right? But it doesn't make any sense that ESPN would sabotage that and potentially lose properties to the rival Fox networks with the Big Ten. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. So all those Twitter experts, as I like to call them, all you got to do is just critically think, ladies and gentlemen.
Exactly. And Magnus also said during that podcast, he said that ESPN put up a lot of upfront money to launch the ACC network. They're going to want to see a return on their investment, and the network, the media deal. Okay, that's bad for the ACC, good for ESPN, but the network has been a huge success. They're not going to just blow everything up. He said it was like it was building a company. Well, they just launched the company. They're not going to just go behind it and blow everything up.
No.
It doesn't make any sense at all. So, I mean, anyone that really wants to see where ESPN stands with the ACC, go listen to that podcast. I think, oh my goodness, it was the Orend and McFarland podcast, or you know what? Let me just look really quick because I want to give them the proper credit. Who did that interview from Sports Business Journal, and give me one. Okay, here we go.
Is that John Orend?
Yeah, it was John Orend and his co-host, the Marchand and Orend Sports Media podcast.
Right.
And these are 2 sports media guys, a couple of the best in the business, and they talked about every conference as well. But you know, for us being interested in the ACC, those were the comments from ESPN's number 2 guy, making it pretty clear where their stance is on the ACC.
Yeah.
Jeff, I have a question for you. Did you try EggPod yet?
Oh, the EggPod.
Oh yeah. So fill in the listeners on what that was, because I remember from the podcast you had with Matt. So that's pretty fun. So if one of y'all, probably Matt or Jeff or whoever, want to enlighten the listeners on that.
Scott, there's this night. I joke not about it. It is like a 1970s advertisement, and literally, it's like one of those things you've always seen on TV. It's like, we know you need to try EggPod, and it's something you put in the microwave, right? You put these eggs in this little plastic container in the microwave for like 8 minutes, and then you take it out and you shake it, and the shell falls right off, and you have hard-boiled eggs. And it's going to become one of those things in ACC culture. Like, did you know that Mike London was a detective?
It's crazy. Yeah, because I remember listening to that on this podcast. I was like, okay, like, huh? I had to look it up myself. So that was pretty entertaining, especially Joe Ovius mentioned it. Shout out to Joe Ovius from ESPN Sports Fan in Raleigh, 99.9 The Fan. It's just pretty interesting. Yeah, so basically, here's what it comes down to, gentlemen. It's like content. You mentioned it earlier, content. The key word is content, right? It's like it's one thing from that real quick from that like ESPN being shut out from the Big Ten, right? Losing those rights to Fox, CBS, and NBC. That is huge for the ACC, right? Because that leaves a lot of content to be filled, especially to fill up content. Okay. So you got the SEC Network, SEC, ACC Network, ACC. And if Jim Phillips, okay, if he learned something from that alliance that was not in alliance, see what happened. You know, I mean, that's just crazy. But anyway, we all get finesse every now and again, I guess. But at any rate, the point is, if he learns from that and just works together with the Pac-12 or commissioner, and then put it in writing instead of like a handshake deal with some teeth involved, and just make sense to the ACC. To your point, Jeff, I think that will help the ACC a lot. Leverage it, use the Pac-12 to increase your bottom line if it's deemed profitable, right? And
or
I
even the
think that's
Big 12, whichever one
yes,
makes it. It doesn't
yes,
have the Pac-12. I don't know. They're looking kind of unstable at the moment. There's just
right,
all kinds of rumors. Maybe the Big 12 is the one to align with, but once they get those deals signed, then go to work.
yeah,
Try to work something out with them.
yeah, I agree. So, like we said before, when we last time you guys were here, Jim Phillips, you're on the clock.
Yes.
You still,
Matthew lied about that, right? You're
Yes,
on the
that
clock.
was Matthew's title of his blog
yeah, that's
article.
right.
Well,
He is
but
on the
look,
clock for
He's on
sure.
the
you can
clock.
sign an alliance, right? But you have to make sure that you use that alliance for your increased
Yes,
bargaining power. I mean,
yes,
Jeff has talked about that on numerous occasions, but I mean, you have to be willing to leverage it if you're signing it. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And that sometimes the steps between those two perhaps aren't as coordinated. Coordinated. I mean, I think I mentioned to Jeff earlier on Twitter, and I've mentioned a few other people. I'm not. What do you guys think? Does ACC football have a coordinated message campaign?
right,
What do you think,
right.
Jeff?
I mean, it's really. I don't think the ACC has ever been really that good on messaging or PR, and it doesn't help when you lose so many out of conference games. I mean,
Right.
if they win some of these games, if Pitt can beat West Virginia, and you don't have to win all of them, but if you can just start winning some of them, if Florida State can knock off LSU, and you win some of these games, then the messaging could get easier, I think. But I don't think the ACC has ever really been good at messaging. They definitely could improve it for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of winning, we're going to get to my sponsor right quick from BetUs.com. So listen up, sports bettors. Your favorite sports book, BetUs.com, is back for our 20th year of action. With the industry's biggest sign-up bonus up to 200%, BetUS offers our members the opportunity to cash in on all of your favorite sports, including NFL, UFC, and MLB. If you're looking for live in-game betting, incredible odds with daily odds, boosters, props, and parlays, you got them. So how about fast payouts and exceptional one-on-one customer service? We got that too. So log into betus.com or call 1-800-792-3887. That's 800-79-BET-US. Also use the promo code TTKT for the Klown Times. So betus.com, where the game begins. So speaking of winning, that's all it comes down to, Jim, because when the conference made those media deals, it was a midst of Miami falling off. Florida State for a while in the final few years of the legendary coach, Bobby. God, I keep drawing a blank on his last
Bobby
name.
Bowden.
Bobby Bowden's final years, they fell off a huge cliff as well. So the only brand to hold it up was Virginia Tech at the time, led by Frank Beamer, and occasionally Boston College. Those don't, I mean, Virginia Tech, yes, but Boston College is not a football brand. I know they got great tradition, but they're not a football brand. So in the midst of all of that, and Clemson was mediocre at the time. So in the midst of all of that, that's why the ACC are stuck with bad deals, inferior deals compared to the SEC and Big Ten, because at least those is cyclical, right? The Alabama had some down lean years, but at least they have brands that will consistently win. Ohio State, and say what you want about Michigan, but Michigan is a huge brand, right? So it's all about. It's just like the great Al Davis once said: "Just win, baby. Just win. If they win, they will get a better media deal." And so I'm trying not to hold out. I'm trying to be pessimistic because I talked to right quick Candace Cooper from Locked On ACC. She was a lot more optimistic than I was, to be honest with you, at the time, in terms of the ACC sticking together as we currently know it, a few years down the line. And I sometimes worry if the likes of Mario Cristobal turns Miami around, makes them a juggernaut again, And Florida State gets itself together under whether it's Mike Norvell or any other coach or what have you, or Matthews Precious, a beloved Virginia Tech turns it around. I fear it's going to be too little, too late. But I'm still holding out hope. And this Clemson is still mad from last year. So I'm holding out hope. I'm holding out hope that they turn it around sooner rather than later, and that will parlay that into hopefully a better deal, because the one good thing about the grant of rights, even though it's a bad deal as far as the length of contract and payouts, is keeping them together until 2035. So, and so as far as I understand, the grant of rights are pretty ironclad. So I don't think anyone has to worry about anyone challenging it for at least the next 10 years, right? To like 20, at least 20, at the earliest 2030, maybe 2031, 2032. So again, going back to Jim Fields, you're on the clock, bro. But also those ACC coaches and the programs and the power brokers at these schools, you're on the clock, because it's on y'all to do what you're supposed to do. Miami, Virginia Tech, Florida State, Clemson, supposed to win, and to another state, Carolina, you're supposed to win. So I think y'all that as long as they start winning consistently, all this can fix itself, in my opinion. As long as the brands act like they do what they're supposed to do. And that makes sense. So we'll start with tonight. We're watching West Virginia and Pitt in the backyard brawl. Pitt on paper is the better team. This rivalry game is expected to be close anyway. It's tied 10-10 at halftime. I think if this is a good indicator of Pat Narduzzi, he has the program obviously in the right direction, long in the right direction. But if to me, fairly or not, the story of the conference's 2022 season really starts tonight, because if Pitt beats West Virginia, even though they're favored to do so, that will still put a positive light on the ACC, because who does Pitt play next week? Tennessee. So two big out of conference games. And also if you want to parlay that, well, not parlay that, but extrapolate that to local rivalries and a group of 5 conferences, UNC goes to Appalachian State. And yes, I know that UNC looked good against FAMU, but all due respect, FAMU is an FCS squad, right? So the real test is at Appalachian State. Appalachian State's pretty good, y'all. They're pretty damn good. So again, if Carolina and if Carolina's waiting for prime time, they should win at Appalachian State, even though I wouldn't be shocked if Appalachian State pulls off, because Appalachian State is very good. Same with NC State, which really hits close to home. NC State plays at East Carolina. East Carolina, for those of you who do not know, hate NC State with a passion. That is a real rivalry, at least on ECU's side. We NC State alums could give two what's about ECU. We focus all our hate on Carolina, but East Carolina hates us. The campus is only 90 minutes apart, 90 minutes away from each other to the east. And this is their Super Bowl. This is the Pirates' Super Bowl. This is their bowl game, their New Year's Six bowl game. And I'll say this, man, right quick, Jeff. If Dave Doran team somehow craps the bed against East Carolina, we're expected to win 10 games this year with the people we're bringing back. And plus, and shout out to Matt for saying this stat. My school is one of just 4 Power 5 schools that has yet to play in the New Year's Six game. Whether it be on the game be on New Year's Day itself or just New Year's Six game. We're like the other ones. I think he said were Vanderbilt, a couple of others. I forget who.
I think Duke was the other one, and Duke. I know Kansas has even been in a big Six Bowl in the last 15 years.
Yeah,
maybe like Rutgers or something. It was a really small number of teams.
Rutgers is the only other one. Yeah, I mean, hell, Wake Forest been to New Year's Six Bowl. So, no disrespect to Wake Forest, but it just is what it is. I mean, if Dave Doran doesn't get my squad to a New Year's Six Bowl,
if it doesn't happen this year, I don't know if it'll ever happen.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. This is our best squad on paper in several years, if ever. So, Jeff, I try not to have too high expectations for my beloved Wolfpack. I've been burnt many times before. Should I have faith that Dave Dorn could live up to expectations, not only perhaps get to a New Year's Six Bowl, give Coach a run for his money, but to get to a New Year's Six Bowl, you have to damn near win the conference. So should I be worried about this weekend? And what should be my confidence level in Dave Dorn and the Wolfpack this season?
I think it should be. I think it should be pretty high. I mean, they've got experience at quarterback with Devin Leary. They got great linebackers. They got a lot of experience and talent all over that team. I think they're going to handle East Carolina, and I think the pivotal game in a couple of weeks really is the Texas Tech game.
Yes.
That's not a very good team in Texas Tech, but they've
Right.
got like some offensive firepower, and they're the kind of team that NC State should beat. I mean, I think they're a lot better than East Carolina, and they're probably going to be 7 to 10 points better than Texas Tech. I mean, they can't have another Mississippi State type game. There was no business for NC State losing that game down in Starkville. They were better. They played terrible. If they beat Texas Tech, they could lose to Clemson, but I think you'll have seen enough to say, hey, this team can win, 10 games and make a New Year's Six bowl. But I mean, they can't lose Saturday, obviously, but I think they'll win. But they can't lose to Texas Tech, and then I think you'll say, hey, they're finally starting able to handle some of these non-conference games that they had lost in the past. But I feel like this is going to be a really good NC State team. I think they're a legit top 15 team.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Let's see. But you're right. You're absolutely right. On paper, we should be. We're 13th right now. So we'll see what happens there. But I'll say this before we get to the preview, very quick preview. Hokie Smash Matthew, I like your coach Brent Fry. I like the fact he's a Penn State guy. He's going to bring that lunch pail. If you're familiar with lunch pail as being a Virginia Tech guy, mentality on defense, he's going to bring that. Hopefully, he doesn't make the same mistake, repeat the same mistakes as the previous guy. Justin Fuente did, and ignoring the Tidewater area. So in terms of recruiting,
and not just Tidewater, but ignoring Richmond and ignoring Northern Virginia and ignoring Southwest Virginia. He kind of ignored the Commonwealth of Virginia.
What a bum! But anyway, I'm glad. I mean, he stayed a year too long. Especially started floating with Baylor. But anyway, so what is your expectations for your beloved Hokies in 2022 this season?
Okay, so let me first. I want to answer your question first on NC State. I want to give you a real quick take on that. I'm going to have a little bit of a different answer than Jeff. Okay. I really think that, and that's okay too. I really think the most key game on NC State's schedule is playing Wake Forest. NC State is they're basically a field goal away from being 0-5 against Wake Forest in the last 5 games.
Yeah.
And which is kind of a shocking stat to me when you think about it. But, they have to make sure that they take that game seriously, because that's it. And I'll be fair here. I mean, Wake Forest has improved drastically over the last several years, but that is the most, I think personally, that's the most important game on the schedule for NC State this year, and they had better win that game, or otherwise there are going to be some questions about Dave and whether he can win the big game, and whether he can win the more important conference games and that sort of thing. So I think they should win that game, but if the quarterback, for example, is still out for Wake Forest, they probably will win that game, and I think they still have a good chance in winning that game, even if the quarterback comes back for Wake Forest. But that is the most important game on the schedule for Wake Forest. Now, as far as Virginia Tech is concerned, we're kind of in the same boat, Scott. I mean, tomorrow, Virginia Tech plays at ODU. Yeah, and that is their Super Bowl. That is their most important. They have that game circled on the calendar more than any other game on the calendar, with the exception of probably James Madison University, right? They are old school rivals with JMU. But
Right.
this is a huge game for both teams. I think that what I can tell you is that I think that the players have a lot more positive attitude than I have seen in probably several years. The culture in that program just seems like it's much better, and I think that's probably even better for at least one more win by itself, right? That they just players have a good feeling about themselves and they want to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's a big deal. I'm not, Virginia Tech also plays West Virginia here. I mean, you were talking about
Right.
rivalry games. That's
Yeah.
big. That's a big one. I'm not, after what I'm seeing tonight, I kind of think that now that West Virginia game probably worries me a little more because they're a lot bigger than I thought they were, on defense. That's the first thing. I didn't know they had a transfer from NDSU. I mentioned that to Jeff, and I'm like, whoa, we better, if West Virginia's going to NDSU, I think the Virginia Tech better spend a little time up there in the transfer portal, right? Because of all the wins up there. But I guess my expectation this year, Scott, is that they're probably going to be 6-6 because there's just too many deficiencies in the roster, for a turnaround in one year. 7-5 I mean, I think at the very best. I think I'm a little more negative than Jeff was on our picks, right? Because I went with 6-6, but I'm not feeling as optimistic just because there's so many roster deficiencies. But I can see why Jeff went with a little higher, just because there are some 50-50 games in the ACC, and you never know what can happen on any given night in the Wild Coastal, right? I mean, I think there are two clear. We're probably going to get to this later in the podcast. There are two clear favorites in the Coastal, and one of them's not Virginia Tech. So
yeah. Well, I'll say this. Speaking of, we might as well get to it. Predictions. I keep getting burnt. Like, first of all, I think Clemson is on a revenge tour this year. Except it's going to be interesting to see how DJ, I'm going to butcher his last name, so forgive me in advance, Ugalele, I think it is. But anyway, I think that if he gets off to a slow start against Georgia Tech, which on paper he shouldn't, but if he gets off to a slow start, I think that was going to turn over the keys to the freshman. And I don't know if this freshman is as good as Deshaun Watson or the previous guy there, Trevor Lawrence but I just know this. I know as great as Clemson's defense is going to be, I don't think they're going to be great enough to go 12-0 by themselves. So, I mean, I'm a little hesitant to pick Clemson because of the quarterback. I don't know what type of quarterback play they're going to get this year, but they have a tissue soft schedule outside the conference. Well, except for Notre Dame. That'll probably be the only loss, but I have Clemson over NC State barely in the Atlantic just because, again, Dave Doran got to show me something. But right quick, Wake Forest is supposed to be a dark horse, but what's going on with Sam Hartman? I know there's a non-football injury, Jeff, which to me spells out of the cancer or depression, and either way, it's not good. So I'm hoping he's okay. But does anyone know when Sam Hartman will be available again?
I know that Clausen said he was definitely going to play again this year, but I don't think anyone has put out a timeline at all.
Right.
But I mean, they were pretty clear that they expected him to be back this year.
Yeah. Okay.
And I mean, he's I think for Wake Forest to be the team that they potentially can be, he's got to be there.
He's got to play.
Yeah.
I agree. He has to play. Because I know this, they get the backups been in the system for a long time. He knows system in and out, but he's not West Virginia scored a touchdown. He's not Sam Hartman, all due respect. Yeah, so I have Clemson coming out of the Atlantic. I want to pick Miami. I like Mario Cristobal a lot. I'll go with Miami. I'm probably get burnt again, but it's going to be Clemson, Miami. I think for the ACC title, I think Clemson gets it, but I don't think Clemson makes the college football playoff. I think Clemson will probably drop a game or two this year because, again, I do not trust the quarterback play. And am I wrong, Matthew? Should I get Clemson some slack here? I just don't think any ACC teams will make the college football playoff because I think Clemson's going to lose 2 games because of their quarterback play. And I don't think Miami's going to lose fewer than 2 games themselves because I don't, again, it's a lot of unknowns. That Miami has all the talent in the world, but I don't know if they play up to the talent. It's like they got 10, 11 win talent, but they consistently play like a 7 to 8 win team.
Okay, so here's what I'll say about that. Yes, I do think Clemson is going to be in the college football playoff.
Okay.
And I think it's very similar. Jeff, you can chime in here and correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I personally think it's very similar to 2005 when Virginia Tech had one of those dominating defenses, like one of the best defenses that the ACC has ever seen. And I think that this is the sort of season that if you have an extremely dominating defense, that I think you can go a long way with that. That's just my personal opinion. Now, you guys would know that better than me. That I know you got to have. I mean, in this day and age, the offenses are ahead of the defenses, but I don't necessarily think that there's good quarterback play in the ACC, but I don't necessarily think that there's a real, other than Clemson, and I mean, Pittsburgh has a good defense. Miami has has a good defense. But I think if you have a good defense and just enough offense to get you by, that I think that Clemson can go. I think that Clemson can go a long way. As far as the coastal side, I think I'm down to. I think I'm down to Miami and Pittsburgh in that, and I think I picked Miami to win the coastal side to be in the ACC title game. And I actually think, it could be interesting. The ACC needs a group of teams that can be 10-win teams or higher. And you could see 4 teams up until the last couple of the weeks in the college football playoff picture. Eventually dropping out before the last week. But I think that the top heavy part of the league this year with Miami, with Clemson, with Pittsburgh, and with NC State, I did say them, Scott. NC State, they're all pretty good, right? So right. I think you're going to have those teams in the picture, but I think Clemson will be there. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, I think Clemson's going to come out of the Atlantic just because they get NC State at home. But
Right.
whether they're a playoff team or not, like everyone's been saying, is going to come down to quarterback play. Is Uiagalelei going to be that guy? Is Klubnik going to take over for him? That's going to separate them from being a good team to being a playoff caliber team. And on the coastal side, I think right now you have to, especially given what I've seen out of Pitt tonight. That does not look like a team that can, go through the coastal.
That kid dropped a touchdown pass. He dropped a
Yeah,
touchdown pass.
that their offense looks really average. I don't like the play calling. Slovis actually looks pretty good, but his
He does.
receivers aren't helping him. And they're just making a lot of mistakes out there. And that doesn't look like a team that can make it through the coastal. So right now, I would definitely put Miami, and we'll see what they look like. But this Pitt team looks like a shell of what they were last year. Not nearly as physical as I expected them to be, but game's not over. Still a ways to go. But I don't see how Pitt right now can beat Tennessee next week, even if they come back
Right.
and win this West Virginia game. So I would say it looks like Clemson, Miami in the ACC title, and then Clemson coming through.
And
Yeah.
who's playing QB for Tennessee?
Hendon Hooker, right?
Yes.
The guy I let get away.
Again, that's why Justin Fuente stayed there a year too long. How the hell did you let that young man get away?
Yeah.
Or drive him away?
He let so many players go. I could sound like an auctioneer. So I don't want to take all your time here.
That's all right. That's all right. So basically, as we all stand, I think three of us agree that Clemson is going to come out the Atlantic, and I think we mentioned Miami, right? I think all 3 of us agree on Miami.
Yes.
Okay. So they have it, folks. Clemson, Miami. Clemson win it all. I think Matthew and Jeff has Clemson in the college football playoff. I kind of don't, because again, I don't trust the quarterback play so far. Again, I think there's going to be a revenge tour for Clemson this year. The Clemson kind of revenge tour, the Dabo Swinney special, because he loves being an underdog. It just depends how their quarterback, if he plays up to his talent level, they'll be unstoppable. They'll be damn near unstoppable. I would agree with that because their defense is lights out. Their defense is looking to put leave some punishment for like on it because again, if Clemson had 10 wins and a down year last season, 10-3, including a bowl win, a big bowl win, as I might add. God help the rest of the ACC. So it'll be a lot of fun to watch. A lot of fun to watch. One last thing though, I forgot to mention them. Notre Dame. If I'm the ACC, I will hope that the NBC backs up the Brinks truck to Notre Dame to at least keep them from considering jumping down the line because they'll have enough money that they don't need anyone telling them what to do, right? It's that pretty lady at the ball that Jeff, that no one can tell her who to dance with, who to hang out with, because she got the goods and the rest of us just standing there on the side waiting to dance with.
Yeah, they're staying independent. They're not joining anyone. The playoffs looks like they're gonna vote on it and go with that structure they had a year ago that the alliance voted down. So Notre Dame has playoff access. They're gonna get a great deal from NBC. Their Olympic sports have the home. They really want to stay independent. I mean, that's their preference by a long shot. They'll even take less money. They're staying independent. I don't see this changing at all. At least until that 2030 time period, at least. So,
yeah, and I agree with you, bro. I don't think in our lifetimes Notre Dame is going to be in the conference. I don't think so. I think why give up the cake when you're having and eating it too, right? Why give that up? Especially if NBC backs. I think they're going to back the Brinks trucks up to them and offer them like buku amounts of money per year. They're not letting that property get away. NBC's not letting that property get away. So to your point, yeah, I agree. So anyway, let's hope for the best for ACC this season. Again, just win, baby, just win. All right, thank y'all for tuning into this podcast. Again, check out our sponsor, BetUs.com. So sports bettors, your favorite sports book, BetUs.com is back for our 20th year of innovative action, live in-game betting, incredible odds with daily odds boosters, props and parlays, fast payouts, and essential one-on-one customer service. We got all. So log into betus.com or call 800-792-3887. That's 800-79-BET-US. Use the promo code TKT for con times to get some great discounts. So betus.com where the game begins. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Matthew. Where can they find you again on Twitter?
You can find me at Talking ACC Sports on Twitter and blogging at allsportsdiscussion.com. And our site Twitter account is allsportsdacc.
All right,
You
Matthew.
can find me on Twitter at @HokeySmash_ASD.
Great. And Breeze, remember, folks.
Thanks for inviting us.
Oh, your words.
Absolutely.
Always a good time. But check us out. Also, please like, comment, share, subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much. Enjoy week 1 of the college football season. We out of here.